Attention crew and passengers. This is your co-pilot speaking. Your pilot is black-minded, so you are not going blind and there is no power failure. You are merely experiencing the immense blackness of his proximity, and when you hear his voice, the cabin will get even darker than it is now. We will be cruising at the speed equal to the speed of light, because there is one thing that can match it, and that is darkness. You will probably be a lot darker when we arrive as well. This is normal, and your loved ones awaiting your arrival might think you spend time in the tropics. When you tell them about the pilot, they'll understand. We will taxi to the runway now, so please buckle up and prepare for a high-speed departure. Thank you for choosing Jet Black Airways.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So get this right quick. You're hearing this probably about 4 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, maybe 2 Pacific Time, but it is midnight at this time where I am. So I'm probably fast asleep now with the time you're hearing this. I better be. I got some stuff I got to do early in the morning before the sun comes up. So I better be knocked the up out. Now, Hafeez did miss a nuance, and this is a problem with black folk in general. Doesn't matter. Remember when I told you that ADOS is a distinction but not a division because we got a lot of bad habits that we share? There you go right there. See, black people, we tend to go into anything 200%. That's black folks. But the 3 nationalities I've seen really go hard in the paint are Nigerians, Jamaicans, and African Americans. Hard in the mother cuss word paint. Becky, Karen, and Amber came up with feminism and they were about to go 60% with it. Gave it to Boom Shika Bon Quisha and Sapphire. Them hyenas took it 200%. To the point they drove us the uck off. When Karen, Becky, and Amber did take it more and take it further, it was either because they were some of the central core feminists that don't even like men at all, from whom this stuff radiated outward, or because they got it from Karen, they got it from Boom Shika and Bon Quisha and Sapphire. And that's where they took feminism even further. You see, that's where they got it from. They gave it and then got it back even more so. It's sort of like religion. And I'm talking specifically about Christianity. Actually, I didn't mean to make it sound like curse. It's just the way that some of the southern church folks pronounced it. And I just realized it sounded like I said curse and didn't even mean it. But there's some curses in it. Such as, for instance, and I'm not even crapping on the faith, although I don't subscribe to it and endorse it. But the curses amongst the body that claim it are, number one, the Europeans came and then gave it to people on the continent, both in the diaspora and in the continent. And then it got even worse because our people took it 200%. And a lot of times the revivals that the white Southerners really, and white Northerners too, got into, but especially white Southerners, came about from us. Now, Thomas Sowell will tell you something slightly different. But the loss of the Stoicism, they seem to take from 2 sources. One was us and the other was a specific town in England that was really ratchet and low class that has since changed, while its descendants in North America have not. That's another story for another day. Point is, we go 200% into everything as a race, especially African Americans, Nigerians, and Jamaicans. Why you think that Jamaicans and African Americans are outrunning and outswimming everybody else? As an example, and Nigerians are out engineering, out doctoring, and out scamming everybody else. Whatever they go into, good or bad, They go into 200%. That's why it takes oftentimes Nigerians to work in financial institutions' fraud departments. Because if they're dedicated to catching fraudsters and scammers, regardless of nationality, whether it's their own or not, then they go into it 200%. Programming, 200%. Medicine, 200%. Hafeez does not have a moral stance against marriage because as a Muslim, we're not supposed to. So he'll defend marriage morally 200%. But understand this, Hafeez, now I'm going to tell you something. You still miss nuance, which is a part of our faith. It is it is required to state that marriage itself, as Allah revealed it, is moral and even necessary. However, it is also okay to state that it is suicidal in a legal context, the likes of which the West has turned marriage into being. You missed that. That's why you keep taking the L's. But I'm going to say something else to those of you that are judging. And I'm talking to people I like, other red pill aware folks. You can say that Hafeez is green behind the ears, and that's true to a certain extent. That's not his fault either. See, number one, keep in mind Hafeez is the first generation in his family to grow up in the context in which we've grown for 3 generations at least, if not 4. He's the first one to grow up with this. And considering that he is in fact Muslim, his people are probably from the north, where feminism is not only not tolerated, but it will be fought against in Kano. Oh yeah, if women in Kano want to be thoughts, they got to take that train. And well, I don't know. The train doesn't run from Kano. It runs from Kaduna, I believe. But they got to go catch a flight to Abuja, live there. And that's when they start getting body counts and going to clubs and taking off the hijab and everything else. Believe that. Abuja's got Kano chicks there partying hard, but they can't do that in Kano. You understand? Now, that north is not F around, they don't play. He's coming from that background. So a lot of this stuff is anathematic to his religion by default, which is my religion as well. No, men and women aren't supposed to be in a gender war. We are. I don't mind telling you how to win, but we're not supposed to be in one. It's unnatural. That's why I have to tell you about male chastity. See, there are 2 ways to practice male chastity. 1, you don't fornicate. 2, you do marry. You don't get to marry in the West if you live there. So I got to tell you how to be chaste as males when you can't marry and you're not supposed to fornicate. That's why I told you what I told you in my last 2 uploads, to make that easier, to understand the dangers. You're not wrong, because especially when you're young, because you like women and like to get married, even if you want to marry 2, 3, or 4. That's natural. The gender conflict is not. The gender war is not. He's the first generation in his family to grow up with this, but in order to understand it historically, he doesn't have what we have. Now, that ain't his fault. What is his fault is that he's been hearing us talk about this for so long and he ain't let it soak the F in. Hafeez, that's on you again, which is why you missed the nuance, brother. But it's one thing I'm going to say again, another thing, and I do want to tell this to red pill cats that I like, with whom I'm cool. Do not slip back into judging him the way that Ados hyena B words will judge him. Does he seem kind of corny with regards to women's standards? Of course he does. I'm talking about Western women's standards, especially Western sisters. Of course he is. Everybody is. That's not his fault either. Now, staying that way, maybe so. Yeah. But we still are not to sit up here and judge him even subconsciously by the standards of the hyena broad, from whom we are defecting when we go abroad with the passports and say what passport bros, passport gang, SYSBM, IBMOR, any one of the UBMPTs. Remember? I mentioned that acronym yesterday. We are not to sit up here and try to invalidate him in any way, shape, or form based on the views that Western white or black women would have of him, especially Western black women. Absolutely not. Don't slip into this, gentleman. Is he wrong for remaining as naive as he has been after listening and talking about this? Oh yeah, of course. But whatever Western black women would think of him outside of his wife, no. Remember, she's the one that's wrong. I'm not his wife per se. I don't know her. But remember that the Western black woman's judgments are wrong. Her standards are wrong. Her preferences are wrong. She can have them. We leave her to them. But that doesn't mean we validate them like there's something to them. She is she's a high Bristol maniac hyena broad. And I want to say the other B word. She is damn near subhuman as a whole collectively because of what she wants. And that goes for that woman Ayana that calls herself the goddess too. You know, the one that was with the freckles talking about, you know, most of the alphas are in jail. That one, yeah, she's barely human. And others like her the same way. Asian doll, you need to have bodies to mess with me. That's some subhuman mess. They're just the ones that were vocal about it. Sophista Ratchet Sapphire, who may not be as loud and who may not growl as much when she says it, but she still sneaks out of her dad's nice house to go pull off in some IDNS car. She's just as subhuman in her taste in men as the rest of them. We do not validate that. That's what I've been telling you about getting rid of this IDNS culture. We just got through telling each other that IDNS culture is crap. Mine was heavily viewed when I said that, but I wasn't the only one with that message at that time. No, IDNS culture sucks. It's subhuman, and IDNS culture does not start with a felony or a tattoo or gold teeth. IDNS culture starts with any validation, even subconsciously validating that hyena B word and what she wants in men. See, the way that he is, though it is wrong based on the information that is true and available, the way that he is the way that men and women were naturally supposed to be regarding each other. Back home, I wouldn't blame him. If he lived in the States and just never got exposed to what we know, I wouldn't blame him. I blame him because he's been exposed. But even then, I don't blame him because of the lack of swag he's got in the eyes of the ADOS hyena B word. It's not right to blame him. It ain't right when you do it. It's not a question of opinion. It ain't right. If you're judging him by his naivety, feel free. I'll join you in that, even though he and I are both Muslim. Because that's open and obvious for all to see. But if you're going to judge his lack of swag, no, shuck that fit. Fitness is fine. Social skills are fine. But what we have been taught to think of as swag is nothing more than literally swaggering so as to cover up for your lack of substance. I hope this message helps, and I'm sorry it took more than 9 minutes. Thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout. Once again, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power, which in this case may include Hafeez, because she don't like it. And black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. You may now unbuckle your seatbelts.